Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first of many technology webinars from Performix Business Services. I'm Ken Umansky, your host for this evening's discussion. Tonight's event is part of the 25th anniversary celebration of Performix. Sunil Bampa, Performix CEO, would like to say a few words of welcome. Sunil?
Thank you, Ken. First, I want to thank our distinguished panel of AI experts here, and also want to express my gratitude to all the attendees tonight. Reaching 25 years milestone is definitely a moment of joy, pride, and reflection. We are deeply thankful to all our clients, employees, and partners for their unwavering trust and support. And to celebrate this milestone 25 years journey, we have launched this continuous learning and sharing initiative. It is aimed at fostering collaboration, engaging community, and growing together. So we hope you all join and enjoy this one as well as the future ones that come up. Back to you, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil. This evening's webinar topic is the state and future of AI. And we brought together, as Sunil said, this distinguished panel of AI experts to discuss this topic, and I know it's going to be insightful and a stimulating session because I've listened to these guys before, and each one of them has a lot to contribute. Let me introduce the panel. Alexander DeRitter is a visionary technologist pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence as the co-founder and CTO of SmythOS, the world's first operating system designed to coordinate specialized AI agents and unlock new levels of efficiency. Leveraging over 15 years of experience spanning computer science, entrepreneurship, and marketing, Alexander is uniquely positioned to guide organizations in navigating the AI revolution. Driven by a belief in AI's potential for social good, he aims to empower governments and enterprises to unlock their full potential. Welcome, Alexander. Chris Machut, founder and CEO of Sitetrax, an AI-powered intermodal asset tracking venture reshaping the bedrock of supply chain data generation. As a thought leader and idea synthesizer, Chris contributes significantly to the logistics community. He has led the discussion on pivotal supply chain topics ranging from data standardization to effective AI utilization. He is a graduate of Virginia Tech and is devoted to reshaping the logistics landscape through innovation and collaboration. Welcome, Chris. Soumitri Kolavennu, the artificial intelligence leader and SVP of US Bank. Soumitri has more than 20 years of experience in research and development, systems engineering, developing breakthrough innovations, technology transfers of advanced concepts, as well as taking many products to market. In addition to his role at US Bank, Soumitri has also worked at Honeywell in various senior positions. He has a PhD in process control and chemical engineering from Florida State University. Welcome, Soumitri.
Hey, bro.
The 1-hour webinar that we're having this evening, we'll have 45 minutes of discussion with the panelists and then some time for hopefully 15 minutes or a little more for Q&A session. So if you have questions for our panelists, please write them in the Q&A tab on the screen, and we'll try and get the answers during the Q&A portion of this evening. Also, there will be one poll question we'd like to have you answer, and it will appear on the screen just prior to the Q&A session. So let's get started with the first question. Chris, if you wouldn't mind taking the first question and kicking this off, what is the most significant recent breakthrough in AI technology?
Wow. there's just so much, Ken, in terms of what's going on with AI nowadays. There are the multi-billion-dollar organizations and companies that are raising these massive amounts of capital from venture firms or venture capital firms that all are kind of like doing this, you can call it your moonshot race to get the best large language model out there. I think my background on the AI side is targeted very specifically on the computer vision side of it, which is oftentimes modeled very similarly to your large language models in terms of training and inference. But what's absolutely been amazing to watch is the growth and the usefulness and the utility of it. It's coming out of not just the academia and you might get an answer sometimes to actually being an integral part of our lives, from content development creation to data standardization, and just being an aid to those that need those particular aids. I'd say overall, there's not in my opinion, there's not a single event. It's the aggregation of it all, and it's just so exciting. I learn and hear new technologies that are released all the time, or new, I should say, models, if you will, that are being released all the time and being used and applied in all these various different ways. At the end of the day, we're still not there yet. It's still evolving. You still have metrics and things that have to be balanced out and verified and continually improved. But ultimately, just if I were to just even summarize it, the year 2024 has just been an absolutely incredible year for what has been produced and what AI is actually able to do for almost everyone.
That's good. Thank you. Soumitri, can you take that same question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ken. First of all, I think before I get started on the question, I want to say a few words of congratulations to Sunil and to the Performix family. I think it's an achievement to be at the 25-year mark. I know you have a long way to go, and you will go a long way. But first of all, congratulations to you. I worked with Performix when I was at Honeywell, also now a little bit when I work with the US Bank. And before I take the question, I also want to just caveat something. I work in a very regulated industry. I want to make it very clear that the opinions and thoughts that I am going to be talking about here are mine and not that of my current or previous employers. And so with that, though, I think that question of, what is the most significant breakthrough or improvement in AI, I completely agree with what Chris is saying. There's so many of them that, it's almost an explosion of different techniques and different methodologies and different models as we see. However, if we have to pick out something, I think the generative nature of artificial neural networks has become really, really big, I believe. It used to be that the generative framework mostly was in the GAN area, or the generative computer vision, pictures kind of area, and it has kind of blossomed into being able to generate video, generate audio, generate text in various different styles. Transfer styles stands for audio styles, generate music. I think and all this happened in the last 3 years, not even, when, it was about 2020, 2019, when we were all very happy with the transformer models and BERT and things like that, and then diffusion and large language models or large multimodal models, LMMs, that came about in the last few years, and it has completely revolutionized how we think about neural networks. Instead of looking at them as number crunchers, now you should be thinking about them as stimulators of your senses, because they actually stimulate your senses, whether it's a music sense or a poetry or reading something or creating a video or creating a picture. So in my opinion, I think the most significant thing is this ability to start generating stuff. That is the most significant contribution from the AI space.
Great. Thanks, Soumitri. Alexander, same question.
Okay. Significant development. We have a new scaling paradigm for large language models, which is inference time compute scaling law, and that stacks with pre-training scaling laws already. Today, we saw the release of O1, the full model from OpenAI, which is a inference time reasoner. The new O1 model is scoring incredibly well in competition math, in competition code, and also in science questions. We know that the preview models already were being tested in math competitions, and they won a silver medal, but only missed gold by a hair. And if you ever want to know how hard that is to get a medal in a mathematics competition, maybe try it sometime. It is not so easy. But we're getting to the point with artificial intelligence that if I asked you to compare the intelligence of two very, very smart people, and you were not yourself an expert in that field, you wouldn't be able to tell. They would both sound very smart. And this is kind of where AI is now. Another breakthrough today that was announced today is something from Google DeepMind called GenCast. This is an AI model, a generative model for weather prediction, and it outperforms state-of-the-art weather prediction models. So it turns out we can even use generative technology for problems like the weather. Many people don't realize this because all the eyes are on ChatGPT. But AI is being used in scientific fields of research. And in terms of implications and consequences, that is really the biggest area of opportunity. We see things like AlphaFold predicting how proteins fold. We see AI models discovering new proteins for scientific research. And previously, they have mapped the entire human genome. So we can see incredible advances on the horizon for healthcare and material science as a whole.
So you're telling me now that when the weatherman says it's going to rain, it really is going to rain because they're going to be able to predict it better?
Weatherman? Did you just say man?
Alexander, let me give you the next question. What are the primary limitations of current AI models?
There's several limitations that we have with AI that we need to overcome. One of them, and one of the biggest ones is memory. We need way more efficient ways for AI to remember and forget information that it encounters. It still requires a fine-tune on a model for it to learn a subject matter expertise that it was not pre-trained on previously. That's too much work. We need something more like LoRa's for these models, that they can quickly come up to speed with new material. One of the concepts we're working in AI, and it much mimics my experience working with computers in the 90s, when computers had very limited amount of RAM and very limited amount of hard drive, and you had to design software that was so efficient in using that limited memory availability, right, to make it actually work. Well, the equivalent for AI models is context window. And we're doing all kind of pony tricks and dances to get around this context window limitation today. So next year, we're going to see a number of breakthroughs in language models. One of them is infinite context window. You heard that right, infinite context window. We already have innovations this year like context caching, which make it much cheaper to leverage history and context that you already provided in previous prompts, right? If you leverage that, it can be 90% cheaper for input tokens for subsequent prompts. You can save a lot of money with that. But these techniques are going to be further developed, as well as long-term memory. And then beyond that, we have additional problems to solve in general. You know, the alignment problem, making AI do what you want it to do, continues to be very important to AI research. But also in general, the agentic use is a frontier for AI, and that requires orchestration, collaboration, task planning, reasoning, self-reflection, and several sub-problems there. It is as we are uncovering each of these new frontiers and obstacles, we make progress, that we are getting closer to what people generally call artificial general intelligence. Then last but not least, but in 2025, we're also seeing much more of the AI technology being deployed in the physical real world, which means that they're going to start gathering a sense of the physical environment in which humans operate and start training on such data. This is definitely happening in labs, but it's not so much made its way outside of the labs and the small demos and factories like what BMW is doing. But 2025, we're going to see a lot more of that.
Okay. Soumitri, you want to take that same question?
Yeah, sure. I think Chris and Alex in the previous for the previous question had touched upon this already, but I think, you know, we are going leaps and bounds on all the advantages, all the models, and all the innovations that we are seeing in artificial intelligence. However, there is definitely a lot of things that we need to be very careful about, and there are pretty much a lot of limitations. I think one of the things that is very fascinating to me, and I'll bring that up first, is what is called machine unlearning. How can you make some of these language models or these neural networks unlearn something? It is so easy for us to do it as humans. If I come and tell you tomorrow that, hey, France just changed their capital from Paris to Nice, you will remember that and you will start, you know, maybe even propagating that. And that's human nature. If that happens today, how difficult is it for a LLM like ChatGPT to unlearn that truth? And that is a big limitation of these language models. So this actually was one of the challenges that Google put out about 2-3 years ago. They call it the machine unlearning. It kind of becomes even more accentuated with the kind of models that are being developed right now with unsupervised learning. And so that is the biggest limitation you have. And if you think about it from a critical perspective, it kind of also flows into dynamic data, right? So how do you learn things when the data itself is pretty dynamic, or unlearn things when the data is dynamic? That's another limitation. Few other things, more technical. I think we have crossed a very nice boundary when people started introducing inference time reasoning. Reasoning before O1 and these models was something that people were trying to teach the model with supervised fine-tuning or with reinforcement learning, and being able to teach the model not to just give an answer, but to know how to answer. That's the next step, and that's inference time reasoning. If you have seen any of Jensen Huang's latest presentations, either in India or in Japan, there is a very nice slide that he shows where I think there is a very nice linear increase that everybody knows about as the compute increases and the number of and the training load increases. Now you're seeing about the exact same rise in the inferencing. So inferencing will start costing you in terms of both energy as well as resources and money, about the same as training, and that's a very, very interesting thing that is emerging right now. So then the question becomes, how can you make those computations much cheaper? There are very interesting techniques like Mamba that just came up, where they use different aspects of synergies in training as well as in inferencing to make the cost come down. So those are other limitations that we see. I think Alex talked about alignment. We talk about alignment and reinforcement learning to make the LLM come out and say what the humans expect. But alignment kind of problems are everywhere. For example, if you take a statute that the government or somebody puts out, and you have a control that you have created to make sure that you are following that statute, is the control aligned to the statute? That's a very interesting problem. It's a language problem. It's not about aligning to human reasoning. It's about aligning to something that actually gives you something more than human reasoning. So those are the kinds of problems that are still being worked on. There are just some limitations. The last thing I'll bring up is multimodality. We have solved the modalities in their own way. Text, for example, CNNs were the craze before. Then we had NLP and transformers. Then a lot of vision transformers emerged. And very soon, vision transformers kind of morphed again into diffusers for vision. And now you have transformers and diffusers, and you have this problem of multimodality where you want to throw in a text and out comes music plus audio plus video and things like that. And how do you make that happen? I think those are some of the limitations that we are seeing today. I think these limitations, though, are not unsurmountable, right? I think we will be in a very few years be able to at least scale up to meet these challenges. That's what I would say.
Terrific. Chris. let me let me let me change the tone a little bit from as technical as we've gotten into a more of a social issue, and that is, how is AI expected to reshape the job market over the next decade? How do you see that? How do you see what's going to happen?
Oh, Ken, I was all prepared to help answer some of those other questions of what I see for challenges, but for the job market, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started as a engineer. Love business. Love the B2B aspect of creating very simple, easy to use solutions to modern, complicated problems. AI, as I'm witnessing it from the job market, is an incredible tool when used and properly trained on how to use it. There's, as we, from the technical side, both Alexander and Soumitri, when they're talking about all the technical implications of what to consider and what to, worry about, or how to leverage things and what might be coming into the future. What's happening right now is basically everyone has the ability, literally everyone, especially if you work in front of a computer, has the ability to have their own virtual assistant. And if anyone has ever worked with an assistant, a really good assistant, it can amplify your role in your organization, whatever you're doing. So from a blacksmith working in their shop, not saying AI is going to come over there and hand you right this second a piece of steel, but maybe in the future. But right now, that is virtually happening all the time. There's marketers leveraging AI to help them create different narratives, to do A/B testing very quickly and get messaging right and succinct, and get creative with things as simple as logos and branding and things of that nature, to developers using it to aid them in coding to make their functions and routines go faster. I use AI almost every day to assist me with checking my grammar, making sure that I have context of what was previously said from a previous meeting, to make sure that, hey, what did we say? I actually had that happen with one of our employees yesterday. We were in a meeting where we asked each other, what was that phrase that we used? And we totally forgot it. And we happened to record the call and just ask the AI, what did we say that was the most amazing idea that we completely forgot about? That's the value prop from a job role perspective. I think right now, if you can use AI to amplify your capability to do your job. New jobs, I have yet to see it get to the point that I'm going to go, hey, AI, I'm hiring you. You're going to do this for me. It's an amazing Kickstarter, preparing utility, assistant. It is not a CTO, a CEO, a CFO. It doesn't have the. I think my advisory team actually gave some really. We had actually an epiphany about a month ago about how we use AI. AI for us is like that, almost like it. Better than an assistant. It's like kind of like having an assistant, but that has that PhD level. So your assistant isn't expected to make the tough decisions, but when you can go to your assistant and say, I want to do this idea, I want to execute better in this way. What would happen if I did this? And to be able to just throw that idea out at the AI, and AI having context of what human beings have done, especially in a large language model like ChatGPT, and O1 model is absolutely amazing too with its reasoning capabilities. If you use ChatGPT 4 versus O1, it will give you very different levels of job functionality across medical, marketing, development, coding, legal. I've used it for every single one of those personally. So ultimately, the one thing I would like to tie into it, though, too, on the job side, is be careful because it still hallucinates.
Let me take that a step further. I think there's a feeling in the general population that AI is going to go replace some of the major jobs that are process and operationally oriented. Do you see that as happening?
Not right now. AI, I think, could do an amazing job in doing the mundane tasks extremely well, way better than we ever can. Driving, building the same thing over and over again, but then being able to adapt when maybe an object breaks, and that computer vision and the language model being able to make the gears work in such a way that it then doesn't cause a catastrophe further down the assembly line. Repetitive tasks that don't require human ingenuity, human engagement, human attention, I think is amazing. There are models that emulate, though, human, you would call it emotional quotient EQ.
Right.
Those are not the same level of the large language models that we interact with. They're tying into something very specific in our wiring of just how we relate to other individuals. So there's Soumitri, when he was talking about the modality and the multiple modalities, I genuinely think the key to the multiple modalities is what they're doing with AI agents right now. So for those of you that can remember back in the days in the 90s of the Pentium processor, the CPU, if you look at AI as being a processor, it's processing information. How they actually amplified and followed, for those of you that also know Moore's law, they amplified the processor's speeds over time. They didn't actually increase the speed of the processors. They just put in more cores. So those of you that are familiar, I think that's how they're going to start getting closer to that general purpose AI, is when you can start inserting all of these agents all together, but then have all these agents that are specialized in medical, legal, EQ, or emotional engagement, all of these different things. That's when you get to that general purpose AI, in my opinion, of using multiple different types of AI agents that are trained on all these different skill sets that can then interact with one another and function as a I don't want to say sentient being, but a central entity to take on any task that's potentially thrown at it.
You mentioned AI agents. We have somebody on this panel who is an expert on AI agents. So let me ask Alexander a question. Do you think the future or the next step with AI agents is to replace people in the jobs that they're currently doing?
There's this comforting line that's going around that says AI won't replace you, somebody using AI will replace you. But it's a bit of a white lie, because there's definitely jobs that are going to be replaced by AI. Not every job, but at the core tension of that statement is the idea of change, and that we as humans need to go on with the times. The people that do not move with the times, right, they will be replaced. That's what it's saying. And so the jobs that we think of what they mean today are going to look something different tomorrow. And if we think that those jobs will still exist tomorrow and the way they do today, then you are deluding yourself. It is like saying a farmer today is not it's not like a farmer 100 years ago. You'll learn very different set of skills and learn to use very different equipment, and the way you farm is very different. So likewise, AI agents will be replacing jobs, but it is not like happening overnight. And the best humans to be in charge of AI are the ones that can supervise, monitor it, and have experience to know when something is going right or something is going wrong. So what I see happening instead is, it's maybe the software developer and engineer who's most heavily affected, because the engineer, if they are specializing in code, AI gets really good at coding now. But an engineer, you maybe met very smart engineers who know nothing at all about your business and how your business runs or your department. You meet them all the time, right? And unless you can distill the information and wisdom from your business processes in that engineer's mind, they can't do anything useful. So who are going to be the beneficiaries here? It's going to be the people that have these skills, that have this knowledge, and now find themselves waking up empowered with this technology of AI agents and AI assisted code writing, etc., that they can all of a sudden do the job they've always done, but they can do it so much more efficient. And AI can help them in a way that they do not need to go and hire a coder to go and make that for them anymore. Well, SmythOS is one of such platforms, right, that is changing the way that people are automating businesses. You can create an AI agent with SmythOS just by making a drawing on a napkin and telling the agent, go and make me an automation, or by dragging and dropping. And then you can put that digital coworker to work in your department to help you with things that you previously did by hand. But there's still a human who's supervising that workflow and is in charge. And that needs to be a person with experience in that field, what's being automated.
Okay. We are running out of time a little bit here, but Soumitri, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
How close are we to achieving artificial general intelligence, AGI?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think we are closer, but not close enough. And it's even more interesting to say is what is this artificial general intelligence or AGI? If it is surpassing the human capability in certain aspects, I think we will get to those certain aspects. If it is surpassing human capability in all human aspects, then I think we are not going to get there anytime soon. And that is where I see AGI being a little bit fuzzy in terms of its definition and its capabilities. But I think, again, AGI is something that we should definitely aim for as a human race, but it's not something that is going to happen anytime soon. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion on the panel on what, how far are we away from AGI?
According to Sam Altman, not very far. That's because his agreement with Microsoft says that all the billions they got, the rights to their code stops the moment they get AGI. And so the maker of AGI, kind of sets the definition of what AGI is. And it is like Soumitri said, it's a bit of a moving goalpost, right? I very much agree that we're very, very far from artificial intelligence being superior to human beings in all regards, but we already have been surpassed for a very, very, very long time in in terms of being a calculator. We have been surpassed for a very, very long time by a bicycle. We have been surpassed by technology for years in many different ways in different areas. And yet we never stopped feeling human, right? Steve Jobs compared computers to bicycles for the mind. Artificial intelligence is maybe a rocket ship for our mind. It can give us infinite memory, right? It can give us infinite time to pursue things and interests and be creative. So think of AI as the greatest amplifier of human potential that we have ever had as a tool.
Well, let me turn to some of the questions that people have asked from the audience. What's the future of AI in teaching and learning in the field of education, and how is AI shaping the future of education?
I'd love to take that one, Ken.
Okay.
My sister's in education. She's been in education 15, 20 years now. And she's been able to share with me a lot of her frustrations, especially because she's not only been a teacher, she's also in the administration side of it. One of the insights that I really had with her one day in the whole thing, she was when AI was first being used to cheat at school, if you want to call it cheating, especially the having AI write, reports for the kids. I told her, you remember when we were growing up, this thing called a calculator came out? And I don't know about you guys, but I had to use that bloody TI insert 82, 83, 85. Can we use slide rulers? Yeah.
That was before the TI.
Oh, Ken, that's cheating.
Right.
I mean, come on. It's another tool. Yes, each iterative. You go from the slide ruler to a calculator that just has numbers, to a Texas Instrument calculator that you can start programming stuff on, to regular computers, to AI. It's an iterative leap in terms of where things are going. Don't hold, and especially when it comes to the kids, hold them back from it because the curriculum didn't incorporate the fact that you could use a calculator with it. And nothing frustrated me more than having to manually do a complex math problem of millions divided by millions to get some decimal point answer, when none of us in our careers will ever do that by hand ever without a calculator. Same argument should go for AI. It should be incorporated. The problem is the curriculum wasn't written in such a way to allow AI to be inside it. It's actually undermining the curriculum in the same way that a calculator did to math classes. The curriculum wasn't set up in such a way that would allow that calculator to thrive.
Okay. So here's another question for you, Chris. What's the name of the AI system you use for your meetings? I think you said something like 001.
Oh, ChatGPT 01 is the latest release that Alexander was speaking or referencing at the beginning of this webinar, the latest release that came out. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, what I picked up, the reason why they're saying 01, because it's entirely different than ChatGPT 4. This is the one primary premise that I got from it is it can actually catch when it's messing up before it gives you results. It can infer upon its inference, which is actually really cool.
So I think, in supervised fine tuning and things like that, which is how GPT 4.0, 3.5 learned stuff, they learned how to answer questions. And O1 is basically changing the paradigm to how do I think about answering the question and then answer the question. So you get two-step, and so that's why it takes a little bit more time on inference. If anybody has a subscription, it's a lot of fun to ask a question of GPT-4 and then ask the same question of either O1 or O1 Mini. And you will see, I thought for 25 seconds, and then it'll give you the thought process, and then it'll give you how it arrived at the answer. And that's basically you're teaching the system not just how to answer, but how to think.
If I can go back to the education question real quick. AI is the infinitely patient, personal, private tutor that knows your child better than a teacher who is looking at a class of 20, 30 students. I have paid for tutors for my kids, and I have paid for a ChatGPT subscription for my kids. And if I ask them which one that they would prefer never to lose again in their life, it is the ChatGPT subscription. They also ask me, how did you ever get through school without this? And it is not just for cheating. It is me. It is also like, I don't understand this problem. Take a picture of the assignment and help me reason through this step by step. As a parent, I taught my children how to use AI in an ethical way with school assignments, not to just write down the answers or pass on essay work as if they wrote it, but to do research, to ask questions, to probe a topic, and so forth. The way that I see this evolving, that I'm really excited about, and I feel like I'm a child again when I think about this, right? I think about these VR glasses one day that are going to be looking with cameras at your homework as you are writing, and a virtual teacher sitting next to your kid, actually guiding them and pointing them and making, I don't know, making an example triangle and showing them how you change the angles, it changes the equation. The amount of interactive teaching, hands-on, private, one-on-one we can do, it is mind-blowing. I'm exceptionally excited for education. And I would myself would love to go to a school like that all over again. I wish I was a child again for this revolution, because education is about to be amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is a great tool for education. In some sense, we are all students. And the way I use ChatGPT, I love to ask etymology of words, especially because I'm not a native English speaker. How did they come about to this word and things like that? It just amazes me how much you can learn from it. And yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask another question. This is of all three panelists. What's the coolest thing you've seen AI do, and why is it so cool?
Every day that answer changes, but I'll tell you what the current thing is. I'm currently just really, really fascinated with the whole video generation capabilities of AI. As a kid, I always had ideas of making like my own comic books, and then later watching cartoons, my own comedies and movies and everything. But let's face it, you can't do everything in life. But now you can make your ideas come to life. And things that, yeah, I mean, I created a little song for an elderly aunt, and I created a little video for my kids. And a next summer project with my youngest, I do a summer project with the kids. I'm going to make an anime cartoon show with my youngest. That's my summer project. So he's going to come up with his own. He's fascinated by seals, like the animal, and we're going to make a anime show of seals. And that's what we're going to do this summer. But the realism you can get out of that, it's a legitimate physics simulation engine.
Anyone else?
I think, the multimodal aspects and things like that are just awesome. But the coolest thing I saw was a one-handed robot with the 5 fingers solving the Rubik's Cube in less than 2 seconds. That just boggles my mind. Think about the hand-eye coordination, how much it takes for us, and computer vision, the reinforcement learning, all the things that need to be in place for that to happen. And it happened in 2 seconds. And that was one of the things that just ran in the back of my mind. Like, okay, so many things had to come together to make this happen.
Okay. Chris, any comment on it?
I was trying to think through, just like with Alexander, I only have just the anecdotal comments of, oh my gosh, did you see what this did? Did you see it do that? Did you see it summarize this? Did you see it find that? I'd actually like to ask another way, because instead of in generalities, Alexander, I've struggled, because I'm not a video editor person and an image guy, but I appreciate it. I've struggled with getting the different AI systems to create cool videos, cool images. I don't know if you guys have looked at it as some of the stuff that it's produced, but those that are the uninitiated, like myself, of creating images with AI, you can tell when an image is made by AI nowadays, or at this moment. It has that repetitiveness. It has elements that don't make sense in the areas that it goes. But then I'll see YouTube videos of, yeah, this whole thing was generated with AI. How? What tools are they using? Can you give any plugs on those?
Try Flux with the realism LoRa on file.ai for human generation, and then be mind blown. For character consistency, in Midjourney, create a character sheet out of your character first, and then use that as a character reference when creating subsequent characters. Or use software like Leonardo AI that already has consistency tools built in for ease of use. The pros are all using Comfy UI for what you're seeing on YouTube. And it's a visual workflow for working with visual models. The thing is, all of this is getting easier to use for more people every day. But there are a few tricks to the trade right now to make them look good. And I do believe they can be indistinguishable from reality in the hands of the masters of image AI use.
Yeah, I can attest to Flux Pro LoRa. I've used it quite a bit and just is awesome.
I'll have to look into that one, because
And make your own LoRa's. Make your own LoRa's. My oldest has made a LoRa of himself, and then he made himself images riding a dinosaur with a volcano erupting in the background, and things like that.
Let me ask one last question. That's about all the time we have. What's the singular technology breakthrough that made AI possible? Who was responsible, and when did it take place, and what was the specific innovation?
I mean, if I'm going to take a quick stab at it. I think, the foundational technology for the AI that people currently call AI has been around for a while. That research started in like the 1960s and so forth. So there's a lot of ancient breakthroughs. One of the big breakthroughs was discovery that you can use graphic processors, GPUs, to train and scale these things larger and larger, like CUDA on NVIDIA chips in 2010, 11, 12. That was a breakthrough. But I think the biggest breakthrough of them all is that this kind of belief, this faith, that scaling laws would be a thing and would hold up at very large scale. Like, there was no evidence that it would. And many people said it wouldn't. And there's a number of entrepreneurs who bet on this paradigm that it would scale, and they train these first massive models, and then they reap the rewards of that. Because nobody really thought that these transformers and neural networks would scale like that. And it's the discovery of the scaling laws, not so much a technological breakthrough, Much like Newton discovered gravity, he didn't invent it. We kind of discovered the scaling laws in the same way. And I think that is the single biggest breakthrough that we've seen that leads to the current kind of explosion of what we're seeing.
If I can take, I will build on that. Right? So every December, and this is coming up next week, there is a conference, AI conference called New Reps. And for every New Reps, there is an award that goes out, which is called Test of Time Award. And they go back 10 years and say, what is the paper that was published about 10 years ago that still withstood the test of time? And in 2022, the paper was a paper called AlexNet, which was a computer vision paper. The great thing about AlexNet is neither the technology that was used that was not new, but what was new was the way the authors took that technology and made it work on a computer that was meant for computer graphics, which is now GPU, and that kind of blossomed NVIDIA's stock price. The fact that everything that happened afterwards, everybody kind of flocked to this architecture of being able to do multiple matrix multiplications in parallel. And so I think that moment is what I think we should think of as one of the very, very significant moments where this all blossomed.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I want to thank you guys. I mean, it was terrific. You were very informative, and the discussion was very engaging. And, I think we all learned a little bit more. I'm not a technical person, so some of that went way over my head. But I thought it was really exciting and interesting. I also want to thank everyone who took the time this evening. And I hope you'll join us again on our next webinar. We're going to do a series. I hope this panel will come back because I think there's a lot more questions and areas that we can explore. And if you're interested in joining us again, look for an invitation coming in your email sometime in the near future. If you'd like to contact the panelists, please go to performixbiz.com and you'll find their contact information on our website. Also, please join me on my podcast, Technology, that's TECHKNOWLOGY, where we explore how cutting-edge technology is being implemented and then the results of the implementation of that technology. You can find Technology on Amazon, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So until we meet again, and again, thank you for the panelists and for all of you folks that came. Keep on innovating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.